The smell of disinfectant and old textbooks lingered in the hallways of Jefferson High School, a place where the dreams of students clashed with the struggles of reality. Among them was Frank Mitchell, the school's 62-year-old janitor. Frank was more than just a janitor. He was a friend to students, a mentor to those who needed guidance, and, most importantly, a silent guardian for those who went unnoticed. For years, Frank had taken it upon himself to do something no one else had noticed. He had been secretly paying off students' lunch debts. It started years ago when he overheard a student, Liam, crying in the hallway. "I'm so hungry, but I don't want Mom to get another bill." Frank had watched as the cafeteria worker turned Liam away, his account in the negative. The boy had quietly retreated to his table, pretending he wasn't hungry while his friends ate. That night, Frank went home and checked his savings. He didn't have much. His small apartment barely stayed warm in the winter, and his old truck coughed like a dying man every time he started it. But he knew what real hunger felt like. He had grown up in a home where dinner was never guaranteed. The next morning, he walked into the lunch office and paid off Liam's debt. One act of kindness turned into a habit. Over the years, Frank began using a portion of his paycheck to cover overdue lunch balances for students who couldn't afford to eat. He never told anyone. It wasn't about recognition. It was about making sure no child had to sit in class with an empty stomach. Frank had been careful, always keeping his good deeds quiet. But one afternoon, Principal Harris called him into her office. She held up a report. "Frank, we just noticed something unusual. Every month, someone has been paying off student lunch debts anonymously." Frank swallowed. "You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" He hesitated. Then he sighed. "They're just kids, ma'am. They need to eat." Principal Harris looked at him for a long moment before shaking her head, her eyes filled with something between admiration and sadness. "Frank, you can't keep doing this. You don't make enough to be paying off other people's debts." Frank chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Maybe not, but I can't stop now." "Somebody's got to do it." Harris sighed. "You're a good man, Frank. But you shouldn't have to carry this burden alone." Unbeknownst to Frank, one of the cafeteria workers had overheard their conversation. That night, she told her daughter, who took to social media and shared his story. "This is Frank Mitchell, the janitor at my little brother's high school. For years, he's been secretly paying off students' lunch debts out of his own pocket. He never wanted credit. He just wanted kids to eat. We need to help him." The post exploded overnight, with thousands of comments pouring in from strangers, teachers, and former students. "I remember Frank. He always gave me advice when I was struggling. That man is the heart of that school. No one should have to do this alone. Let's raise some money for him." Within days, a GoFundMe campaign was launched to help Frank retire. Donations poured in, but something bigger was coming. One evening, as Frank finished mopping the gym floor, he heard his name echo over the PA system. "Frank Mitchell, please report to the cafeteria." His heart pounded as he walked down the hallway. As he pushed open the cafeteria doors, his breath caught in his throat. Standing in the center of the room, towering over everyone, was Shaquille O'Neal. The legendary NBA player turned businessman was dressed in a sleek suit, his signature warm smile lighting up the room. A crowd of teachers, students, and staff members stood behind him, buzzing with excitement. Frank blinked. What's going on?" Shaq stepped forward, extending a massive hand. "Frank, it's an honor to meet you." Frank shook his hand, feeling like a child in comparison to the 7'1" legend. "I heard about what you've been doing," Shaq continued, "paying off lunch debts for kids who need it. That's real generosity, man. That's real heart. Frank shifted, uncomfortable with the attention. I'm just doing what I can. Shaq grinned. Well, today, you're not going to do it alone anymore. The crowd parted, and behind them, a giant check was revealed. $100,000. Frank's knees nearly buckled. Shaq placed a hand on his shoulder. This is for you, Frank. To pay off student lunches, to take care of yourself, and to enjoy life for once. Tears welled in Frank's eyes as the cafeteria erupted into applause. I don't know what to say, he whispered. Shaq chuckled. Say you'll let us take care of you for a change. With the donations from the GoFundMe, the school was able to wipe out all student lunch debts permanently. Frank, for the first time in his life, had savings to fall back on. But he didn't stop working. Even though he could retire, he chose to stay at Jefferson High School. Because to Frank, his job was never about money. It was about the kids. One morning, a student named Liam, now older, ready to graduate, came to find him. Mr. Mitchell? Frank turned, smiling. What's up, kid? Liam held out an envelope. I just got accepted into college, on a full scholarship. I wanted to say thank you. I never forgot what you did for me. Frank swallowed hard, blinking away the sting of tears. You just go out there and make something of yourself, all right? Liam grinned. I will. As the student walked away, Frank stood in the hallway, watching him go, his heart full. Because he knew that kindness had a way of coming back around. And today, he didn't feel like just a janitor. He felt like a hero.